Greetings, Calderians. I am CoreMaker TV and I will guide you through this video showcasing gameplay and sharing some tips and tricks. Let's get it started. First up, of course, we need a name for our house. Let us name our house Grigori. Now that we have a name, what is our family standing for? What is our tradition? I, for example, like to have my workers in a happy state, because if they're happy, the city growth will be higher and my production will increase faster. Therefore, I will pick the idealists. Once we have now our tradition, we can pick one of 4 leaders. We can also reroll if we don't like our choices. Looking at our leader, you can see their name, age, sex, if they're married or not, their stats reaching from diplomacy, economy, intrigue, all the way to military. Those stats will influence the outcomes of events, as well as dictate how good they operate as overseers in your lands, but more to that later. Below, we have the traits and characteristics of every person that will influence their base stats or give them special abilities in social or military conflicts. More to that later. Good, we have chosen a leader of the family. Up next, we have the chance to create our coat of arms. You can be creative and craft something yourself, or just be lazy like me and click the randomizer a few times until it spits something out that looks nice and fits your family theme. Once that is done, we pick the origin of our family, as we are second in line after our parents who moved to Calderia 1 generation ago. And depending on your choice, you will get different bonuses as highlighted below. I, for example, like to roleplay my runs, therefore I see my father love to wine and settle in the hillside for a boost of production on grapes. Lastly, you need to pick a starting region from the origins you have chosen before. We're having a look, of course, on something that will increase our grape production. Castivaria looks like a good prospect with 25% on grapes. A quick side note, you can be a jack of all trades and produce everything on your own, but I highly recommend focusing on certain production chains and grabbing the rest via trade. Well, now the real fun starts. We have finished creating our house, now let's have a quick look at the UI, aka the interface. On top we have our resource panel. In green we have the raw materials, in the blue grayish color we have the processed materials, aka materials that need raw ones in order to produce. At the end we have our special resource, gold. On the left side we have our family depicted. By clicking on the little I button you can see every information about that family member. Below on the left side we see again our coat of arms and 2 important buttons. The big one under the house name zooms directly into your lands, while the smaller one on the right side will recenter you back to your lands on the overview map. On the right side you can see your objective, as the game will try to hold your hand a little bit and throw you through the game loop and give you tasks in order to learn the game, as well as important messages that will show you if a family member is lazy, if some family member is unmarried, and other important information. Lastly, bottom right, the crown symbol will show you all available titles and all their abilities and bonuses that you get by claiming that title. To claim one of those titles, you will have to wait until the election. The election will happen after a certain amount of time in the game, and depending on your rank, you will have access to all kinds of different titles to choose of. Next to the crown icon, we have the feather icon that will show your tradition tree. Here you can see what kind of bonuses each tradition nod will give you, and if you stay true to your tradition, you will up rank and scale further down this tree. Then we have the cup, showing you your winning conditions, like our current 2 endgame scenarios, where you can side with the Emperor and become the new Viceroy, or oppose him and become King and declare your independence. Right next to it, we have the map filters, where you can check your relationship with other houses, you can see their productions, and help you decide with whom to make trade for. You can see what kind of numbers of spies you have, and many more. And lastly, but I think this is talking for itself, well, your speed options. Wow, what a journey so far. We've created our house, we have our location. Well, we kind of know what that interface is telling us now. Let us jump into some gameplay. By clicking your region, then on view, we're zooming in and now can see what is going on in our lands. On the left side, we see all our professions and the products they produce. And in the middle part, we see the information breakdown around said material. In here, you can move around your workers in order to boost a certain production line and assign overseers who are members of your family in order to, well, hopefully increase production and happiness of your workers. Let's have a look at the farmers as they seem to be unhappy. Looking now on the middle section of the screen, we can see we have no overseer. Next to it, we see the icon from diplomacy up to military and what they influence. Diplomacy, for example, influences happiness, while military influences the production value. In this case, we have here 4 workers that are unhappy and therefore results to that -4 in city growth. Let's fix that by finding someone with high diplomacy skills to hopefully shape our workers. And there we go. We managed to alter their happiness enough to move it back to neutral and therefore not hinder my city growth. Here comes the important part and start to analyze your family members to see what they might be good at or what they might not be good at and assign them fitting to the role into these overseer positions. Keep in mind, an overseer without workers, well, he will not produce anything. Up next, let's have a look at the upgrades in our lands here and upgrading our professions. We are staying at the farmers. Here we can see what already has been built and what is available to be built, as well as the next level of our keep in order to access higher tier buildings in our construction chain. Let's break down the icons that you can see here in the building chains. The green house icon means it will increase your max population. The weapon icon, that little gray bluish, would unlock a new military units that can be recruited during war times. That bluish hand icon means it will unlock a new social unit that you can use in social debates, aka in social conflicts. The carrot shows the next stage of wages, aka better payment with other resources for your workers, making them more happier and work better. While the stick will force them to work harder and have an impact on their happiness. And lastly, the bag icon with the plus. That one will unlock a new profession, in this case the vineyard, that will give us access to produce grapes. Good, you've learned so far how to assign overseers and how to read the important information related to your land's production and upgrades. Let's hop back into the overview map. Great Houses of Calderia is all about diplomacy and interacting with other houses. We can do so by clicking on the lands, then on diplomacy, then decide the action like sending an official visit over there, or court a member and try to marry them and win them over to your family. Or once you know your family members, by clicking, dragging and dropping your family member on the destination where you want to send them. And yes, if you want to have a chat with your neighborhood house, you actually have to send someone over while your family member walks over there. Well, things can happen. Maybe he gets robbed, or maybe he gets captured, maybe he finds a secret message in a bottle. And I think that puts a great aspect on the roleplay factor around Calderia and makes it quite unique in its interactions. Finally, not all delegations can end well and might end up in a social conflict, aka debates. While in a social conflict, there are often several outcomes that will alter the final verdict. In this case, we are not happy with the trade's proposal, therefore we want to initiate a debate, aka a social conflict. This moves us to our roster of agents that we can use in order to enforce our preferred outcome. If we win this, not only will we get more resources, but also pay less resources to the counterpart. Keep in mind though, fair trades will increase, while unfair trades will decrease your standing with another house. So looking at the agents that you bring to a social conflict, it is a very rock, paper, scissors system. This icon will help you understand what kind of agent is more powerful against whom. The military unit is, for example, good against an intrigue agent, while the economy is strong against military. Once you had a look on what agents your enemy is bringing on the table, you can decide your strategy and decide what kind of agents you want to bring with you on the table. Good, now we decided whom to bring to the debate. Now we're moving to this mini game where we are fighting out our debate. You can win either the left or the right side, or both, or lose both sides. The game is played like this. You can see the nodes, how they're linked with each other. The green zone depicts your starting and spawn positioning. The empty white tiles are empty places where your units can move through. While moving, your unit will fill up that empty tile to your color before it can move towards the next one. And if the tier of your unit is high enough or your leader has some social skills, you can trigger those abilities during this social conflict. Strategize correctly and your outcome will hopefully be positive. In order to do mischievous actions, you will have to recruit spies in enemy territory. Therefore, you send out a member of your family in order to recruit spies. For your enemy, it will look like an official visit, during which an event will happen that will depict on what kind of spy you get, what happens during your spy recruitment, if it's successful or not. But if it is, you can then attack trade routes or even attack the fealty payment route that will hinder the tributes to their overlords to arrive and lower the reputations towards them. So in other words, you can poke the routes of taxes and hopefully have the overlord declare war on your pesky neighbor. We would love your feedback on this, what kind of mischievous actions we should have and implement into the game. And as we move down the production line, more and more actions will be unlocked for you to play around and experiment with. Well, you have learned in the previous chapter on how to unlock new types of units. Now let's talk about war. In order to start a war, you need to decrease your liking to another house to a certain threshold. Once you did, you can declare war on them and start recruiting your units. Keep in mind, recruiting units will cost materials, and also keeping them will cost maintenance. A unit that dies in a conflict doesn't return as the social conflict agents, they are dead. And once you manage to fight back all the enemy armies, you will be able to siege your lands and then start peace negotiations and the outcome of war. This is also the first step in order to claim a higher title from somebody above your rank. But let's have a quick look at how a military conflict plays out. It is very similar to the social conflict. You play on the same board, and the units succumb to the same rock, paper, scissors function, where pike units, for example, are good against cavalry. But enough chatter, let's enjoy some warfare. Okay, let's summarize it all. Great Houses of Calderia focuses on rank play of feudal houses and lets you create your own take on a family and challenges you with interesting events and diplomatic and economic decisions while trying to become the highest and strongest house of Calderia. It gives you a great set of tools to do so and shines with unique conflict systems in social aspects and military aspects. Let me know in the comments down below if this showcase was helpful in getting an understanding of the game, what kind of house you will create to challenge the other families of Calderia, and will you stay true to the Emperor or try to become independent and be crowned King or Queen of Calderia?